Hey, what is up everybody, Blaze for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X here. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about my final thoughts of Futaba. Normally we would have, of course, my first thoughts, then kind of like a medium thoughts time here, then final thoughts being in like the last 3 days. But of course, we didn't get her till recently, and I was not able to actually record the other videos, so at the point in time we're just doing final thoughts. We're not doing the first thoughts and stuff like that for this character, so I do apologize for that. But I'm going to be going over my final thoughts about this character because I've been playing her ever since I got her, which was about a day or two ago. And at this point in time, I have learned that this character is absolutely amazing. Not only just, of course, is she amazing, but there is some pros and cons with this character. Now, her herself, of course, as the Navi that she is one of the first Navis to actually present this whole deal of making certain attributes actually now either weak or either making them now, instead of being immune, they're actually able to be resisted, stuff like that. She's the only navigator that has this actual function, and this is her main strong point, especially her main strong suit when it does come down to being this Navi. Not only that, she is a really good offensive Navi that is really helpful for different attack and crit base type characters. And boy, oh boy, does she blow it out the water. Now, the things that she really does not do well, of course, we have the pros. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do the pros first. Pros with this character, of course, you're able to bring that new function and actually make things that weren't really doable or not be able to be passed now passable. This character definitely, with the at least thought process of now having that function of swapping the attributes around and things like that, has brought a lot of light to what she really could do. One of the few things that I was kind of worried about this character was how they were going to really pull this off, especially seeing that this is the only thing they could possibly really give her in general. Like, if you think about it, we already had mostly a defensive navigator. We've had 2 or 3 pretty much offensive navigators that were really good, so it was kind of hard to just see her being just a primary offensive navigator without something else added to the mix. So the fact that they actually gave her this whole little hack complete thing that actually helps her out with those is already a good step. But one of the few things that she also does with a really good thing when it comes down to at least her whole pro aspect is the factor that she's able to decrease different defenses. Now, this has been something that is, I think it's her first skill that does this for the most part, and this first skill is actually amazing. It pairs perfectly with our third skill, which allows us to give ourselves a buff, but this one, no matter what, is just that debuff that we really need. A lot of our Navis, they do have some debuffs, or at least I know Rico has a buff here, and she has debuffs that she could possibly do as well, but this is just a flat out all enemies defense down. This actually is really good for her, and it's really exclusive to her, to be honest, as well, because you can end up following up with something else that's really nice, which pairs to that hack complete, which allows us to, of course, not only boost ourselves, but eventually get off the disruption virus of actually getting down the attributes and stuff like that. This makes this character really good, and it's a huge pro for her. And another good pro for her as well is the actual flexibility with this character in her card sets. There's at least one card set that you can technically use for her, but there are also 2 different arcane cards that you can use for her, and it makes her kind of flexible. Whether you're running a mono team, which normally you would see this for Phoebe, you can also use this in a type of way for actually Futaba as well. So it gives her 2 different playstyles that are really nice, and that once I've actually experimented with, it feels really nice. Now, of course, for general use, you're going to end up using this one. If you did want to use like a mono team, you would end up using something like this, and I won't lie to you, it's pretty darn useful. It really does come in handy quite a lot, and so I really do like that she has 2 different playstyles that you can really kind of expand on and use her. Another good part about this character that is a huge pro in my opinion is the factor that she can be useful at A0 no matter what. A0 gives you more than enough for this character. She's not a heavy invest character. Of course, if you do have the funds and stuff like that, you would always want to like go crazy in for this character, because she has some really good at least awarenesses going from A1, A3. I think her, actually no, I think it's her A1. Her A3 gives her a little bit of crit, but it's not necessary fully. The rest are kind of really decent, so you would normally just get the A1 and then the A6 for the most part with this character, and she doesn't need to be heavily invested. Even coming down to at least the 4-star weapon here, the 4-star weapon is very helpful. It helps us out with at least debuffing that and getting us crit damage and things of that nature. But even with this, after actually testing around pretty much with the final impressions that I have of this character, the 5-star weapon is not really that necessary. Sure, it does help us out a lot with at least the debuffing and getting that crit damage, but all in all, you can still get a lot of like your buffing and things like that that are really important for your team with just the 4-star weapon. And of course, as always, you can always upgrade this 4-star weapon to actually make it way more useful than it normally is, so you can get yourself a nice attack buff that's pretty close to the 5-star weapon as well. So I would say that this is really good for this character and is an overall pro. Now, the thing that makes this a little bit of a con for this character, one of the few things that I've done and I've sat here and actually been looking around to, is how heavy she relies on characters that not only are just majorly offensive, but characters that can really go multiple times. As many of us do know, there's not many characters that are meant to go multiple times like that, and there's only a few characters that can really pull this off. These characters are like Joker, you got Bowie, you got characters that really could go along with it. I think actually you could count Makoto, but she doesn't go multiple times, she just hits really hard, so she can be really useful for this team. But if you really want to expand this character's actual usage, you would definitely need to use Joker, Bowie, getting another turn off. You would definitely try to use, of course, Cord to build up your highlights, get more of those turns so that you can spam more of the preparation time moves. And this is one of the few things I've noticed with at least when it does come down to actually utilizing herself. She does fit with other teams. She can be used on most teams, if not a lot of them, but the most that you really can get out this character is going to be with certain specific type units, and those are always going to be like follow-up characters like Joker, who need those extra turns instead of being like other DPSs, which we have like Summer Closer, which you could use her with, but it's not going to be as helpful with this character. Or Mesa, you could use her with, or use him with her, but the issue with doing this is Mesa gets more out of at least EHR, in which Okeon and other characters who build attack percentage in EHR are going to be more helpful instead of her. Even though she does help out with the crit damage and attack, she's not really going to be helpful for him because it is heavily needed that for this DLT unit, or a unit like of his stature, that you would need a character that needs EHR or like more attack instead of that crit damage functionality. So this is one of the few things that I feel like with Futaba she's going to be lacking in, but she is by no means a bad character. With everything that she has inside of her kits and things of that nature, she makes it known that she's pretty much one of the best characters that you can probably get, at least in the game currently, especially when it comes down to at least the navigator cycle of things. Now, I'm still pulling on this character just to see if I can get A1. If I can't get A1, cool, eventually I'll what's it called, I'll lose this pity, and hopefully I lose the Phoebe or something like that, and then I'm able to actually go ahead and be prepared for when Haru comes out and I can get her A0 and then dip on out. But one of the other things that I say is a huge con about this character, or at least a con to my extent here, and that is really going to be the usage of her not only being in other teams, but the actual needs to actually make her really, really good. And that's going to be from the skill 2. Now, the skill 2 is something that, all in all, I see what they tried to do for it, but it takes too long to actually use the skill 2 and actually have everything be really, really worth it. If you guys don't know exactly what her skill 2 does, it actually helps you out with the damage taken to enemies, and it increases that, so they're going to take more damage in general from us. But alongside this, it actually charges her analysis progress completed here, and which helps us get off that disruption virus, as well as that hack complete, which is always going to be nice. The only issue with this is that move itself is not really necessary whatsoever, and I feel like they could have made that second move a little bit better, and that is a huge con for her, because only 2 of her skills are actually really useful, especially for a character that's meant to be at half Annie. You would want them to be as busted as possible, or you would want them to be really, really good. Instead, we are missing that side of things from that secondary skill. Now, Blade, not all the skills got to be really helpful. They don't got to be something like crazy. That is a true factor. For example, we have characters like Cord that you really only use her second skill and her third skill, but you do still have that first skill lingering around. First skill will be used every now and again with Cord, but with Futaba, you genuinely will not use that second skill, and it utterly omits it. So I feel like they could have made that second skill a little bit something that was a little useful, or like some type of follow-up thing, kind of how we have with Rico, where if you use her 1 and 3, eventually she can trigger her 2, which gets off that little second skill automatically based on whatever happens. So that's kind of a little bit of a con for me, but really there isn't too much to really talk about with this character other than she's an absolute just amazing unit to have. But all in all, I'm gonna stop talking right there. All in all, I'm actually enjoying this character quite a lot. I'm probably gonna do SOS maybe one more time for this week, because we did kind of bad at the end because we didn't actually have things there. So we're gonna try and do it maybe one more time this week and see how we do it and see how it goes. But thank you guys for watching. Before my voice dies, and peace out.